Hey guys, it is Friday. It is 11:42 on September 6th. I'm doing my Roman real estate today a little early because I have a closing at 3 o'clock. This closing was actually supposed to be on Wednesday, and then it was supposed to be before then on Friday last week, and then it was supposed to be actually before then on Wednesday of last week. So today we're going to go talk a little bit about why that is, and just a little warning, there's going to be probably a little bit of a rant ahead, but not without a question at the end to see how we can make this process better for the client. Today's rum, because of the situation, we're going to go with some Kraken. You heard me talk about this. You see that? It's 94 proof. You probably see this on the shelf. Sometimes people get it confused with the Captain Morgan black spiced. Oh, someone's trying to call me. I don't know who that is. But this particular rum this stuff is it, man. At 94, like I said, it's a black spiced rum. I don't know what you would mix it with. I know, like I said, there's a couple that you may find some mixing suggestions online, but I like it on the rocks. You need to dilute just a tiny bit. Drinking it neat is that's an experience. I'll just say that. My ice was a little bit melted already, so it's already got a quick dilution on it. But if you're in for something that's hard and heavy and wants to get you where you're going to go pretty quickly, this is the stuff that you want. I typically drink this when LSU plays Alabama because it never, at least the last 8 years, has not gone very well. So this usually dulls the pain a bit. All right, so let's talk about mortgage. And mortgage underwriters is kind of where I'm going to send my ire today. If you know, when you go talk to a mortgage company, you have your real estate agent, and then you talk to your loan officer. The loan officer's job is the customer-facing person when it comes to getting a mortgage. They're the one that gathers the information. They ask the questions about silence this phone here. They ask the questions that pertinent to what your goals are, and they gather all the documents needed to get the loan started for whatever loan you're trying to get. From that point, once you have a contract, they gather all this information and they send it to the mortgage underwriter. This person is anonymous. It is a nameless, faceless person, and we're not allowed to communicate with them. They don't communicate with the buyers. And in the case of this particular deal, and actually 2 deals I had last week that were also delayed for obnoxious reasons, their job is to make sure that the buyer is credit worthy enough to, their risk, they are not enough of a risk to deny the loan. So they want to make sure that the person buying the house is credit worthy to purchase a house and worth the investments of the mortgage company to give them the loan. It's a noble cause. You want to make sure that someone has the actual ability to pay for the home. The problem that's been creeping up a lot lately, especially in the last couple of months, it just really kind of hit me this past week with these particular contracts I'm dealing with, is that they have no accountability at all. Their accountability is not to the client. Their accountability is to the mortgage company that's ultimately going to take over the loan once it closes. Okay, I understand that. If the loan officer and the real estate agent are working for the client, you have to have someone that's going to work to make sure that the interests of the mortgage company are protected as well. But they are still in the business of lending money to people who want it, so they're in the customer service business, and their job right now, as it's been been made clearly obvious to me these last couple months, is they are not looking out for the client. They're looking out for their mortgage company, but they do not have any accountability to anything that's in the contract. And what I'm talking about is the closing date. And when you have a contract and there's a closing date, you're not just affecting the buyer. There is a seller involved. There's agents involved. There's the loan officer who doesn't get paid either unless the loan closes. And when you're talking about a seller that's on the other side, even though they're not really working for them, the underwriter's not working for the seller, they have to deal with moving companies. There's utilities that have to be moved. There's all kinds of, to get a transaction to close and everything that has to happen within a good 24 to 48 hours, that has to be planned in advance. And when an underwriter does not have any sense of urgency to do their job when they have it for they have a contract for at least 30 days. And to miss closing dates once, I'll give you one. We'll extend a couple of days. It may be backed up to the end of the month and there's a lot of loans, I understand. But when there are mistakes are made that are completely unprofessional, where there's information that the loan officer has passed to them and it was ignored until the very end when we're trying to close. And then that's the reason that a loan is held up. That's the reason the closing is held up. And then it messes with people's lives. And there is no accountability to that. And it's something that has driven me to drink Kraken today, because I can't figure out, and I'm asking you who have watched this, I'm talking to real estate agents, I'm talking to loan officers, especially today. We need to come up with some ideas to make this process to where there's some more transparency to it. The Consumer Financial Protection Board was created to protect clients, and lately it's been that the only excuses we get are we're swamped. Or even worse, in the case of this particular deal, we didn't get this one I'm closing today. We got no information at all, none at all today until yesterday for about 3 days about whether we were actually going to close. So like as I mentioned, the closing date was supposed to be Wednesday. We heard nothing from the underwriter about where they were in this process. They asked for another piece of information that they should have had 2 weeks ago, last Friday. And once we gave it to them, it was radio silence. And when we're talking about people that are trying to move, they have to get off work. They have kids in school. You have, as I mentioned, you have movers, you have utilities. These are all things that basically are being affected by an underwriter who is not trying to get the job done in a timely fashion. The loan officer wants to get it done. Everybody wants to get it done except for this person. And there has to be a better way to create some sort of accountability, such as if a closing is pushed back and it costs someone money, that should cost somebody. The buyers and sellers and agents and loan officers shouldn't be eating dollars for rate lock extensions, or if there was something that needed to be requested 3 weeks ago that all of a sudden they need that costs $350. In the case of this deal, it was a flood elevation certificate. We could have had them for it 3 weeks ago. They didn't ask for it, and then they get to 3 days for closing, and now they're asking for it when it wasn't necessary to begin with. Things like that. And so there has to be accountability. I know I've said this word 100 times, but we have to find a way to create some more accountability for that process, because ultimately the mortgage process is there to serve the client. And if the client's done everything that they've been asked to do in a timely fashion, they should not be made to suffer and put other people, the secondary people, such as the seller and everybody else that I mentioned, put them out of luck. In the case of a deal that I had last week, there was an issue regarding a roof. We had to get some shingles put on the roof. And at this point, it was the appraiser said something, said there's a couple shingles missing. All right, we'll go get the shingles put on. We have a roof, we're going to do it. We called them to get the appraiser to come back out because we were 5 days away from closing. It took them 3 days to send the appraiser back out. And then once they had the report back from the appraiser, they sat on it for 3 days, and it delayed the closing even more. The reason why this bothered me was because it was my seller, and because the closing got pushed back from a Tuesday, then a Wednesday to the Friday, my sellers had to pay weekend rates for their movers, because apparently they consider Fridays weekend rates. That's a big deal. And when they could have just said, all right, we have the pictures. Yes, the roof's been taken care of. They can rubber stamp it, get it clear to close, and close the next day. And that would have been possible. But there was no reason for anyone on the underwriting side. Again, this is not the loan officer. This is the person that holds all the cards in these deals to say yes or no, that they wouldn't communicate with the loan officer about when and how or what was going on, what they were waiting for. If they had all the information on Wednesday, they could have closed on Thursday. But instead, we waited till Friday, and it cost my clients a lot of extra money. And not even that, it wasn't even as bad as that. On the Friday at the closing, we had all the documents signed by 1:50 p.m. for a closing that started at 12. The underwriter at that point has a chance. They're supposed to review the docs and release the funding for the actual money to be closed on the house. They did not send that money until 4:30 or 4:45 on Friday afternoon, when they had the documents in their hands before 2. Actually, they had it before then. We closed that one first. So that one was done by 1 o'clock. And they wasted almost 3.5 hours on a closing that my sellers had to sit in the office. And not only that, the buyers had to sit in their office, and they lost a half a day of work. My clients were the ones that had the movers. They had movers sitting at their house paying extra dollars for an extra 3 or 4 hours because this underwriter couldn't be prepared to say, yes, we have everything, let's go and close this thing. So I'm asking for suggestions. I know it seems strange for, just a realtor here in Baton Rouge. I know it's frustrated everybody, but I'm looking for ideas. There has to be a way that this process has to be made more accountable. Maybe underwriters should be paid on commission just like everybody else is in this process. That way they know that if they don't get the thing closed, they don't get paid either. Commission is a very motivating factor for a lot of people. That's why it's why sales, there's a certain type of person that works in sales. I think that might be a good start. But I'm asking for realtors and I'm asking for loan officers. I'm asking for your experiences. Respond in the comments. I want your experiences and maybe some ideas that you might have that we can get to a point where we can have some predictability with some of this information. And again, a lot of times the information is already there, but there has to be accountability to these closing dates, or else they're meaningless. And there's no expectation that anything's going to close on time if we don't know that an underwriter is working in their best interest for the client before, to make sure that lives aren't being, messed up and really inconvenienced because they can't do their job that they signed up to do. That's really my rant today. I see Carmen, thank you for joining. If you have any other questions about how this process would work, I can give you a name of some loan officers that can give you some more details. I've studied this just with my own loan officers that I deal with to try and understand why this happens and why the communication just seems to bog down near the end of the process, especially when we're getting close to closing bids. I appreciate y'all taking a watch. If you know someone that'd be interested in listening to this, again, Kraken, if you need something hard, this is what I needed today. But after this video, it's I'm all positive. I had to get this out. So as you listen to my voicemail, stay positive, love your life, and have a great weekend.